Hello everyone, welcome to the ATL channel. This channel has been in operation for more than a year now, but so far all our recordings are in Cantonese. I think now it may be time for us to start recording in English for issues of international interest. Many may wonder, how do we get the name ATL's channel? It stands for Academic, Technical and Leisure. So what we try to do is try to cover all kinds of different topics. So today, as I'm an engineer by training, for myself, I'm an engineer educator, researcher, and practitioner. So my first topic in English is going to talk about engineering. And the topic I selected today is of international interest. We are going to talk about global mobility of engineers. Many of you may be studying engineering and start to wonder, will other places recognize my degree if I move out of my own country? And likewise, many are studying overseas and trying to come home. I'm thinking about, will my degree be recognized by the professional bodies of my home country? And what I try to do today is to answer all these questions for you, and also try to talk about, in a broad sense, the global mobility of engineers. First, we may want to discuss why engineers are more mobile than the other type of professionals. First, we need to understand all engineering works are based on the laws of nature. For example, if you try to fold something out of your window, it doesn't matter you fold that piece of rubbish in Hong Kong, in Taiwan, or in another state. How would it fall onto the ground? Will follow the same principle. You can do the same calculations, and pretty much you arrive at the same conclusion. Although some may argue, because the Earth is not a perfect sphere, so the time of arriving from the same height may not be the same, but the difference is very small. But if you try to compare that to accountants, you can easily imagine now. If we work in different economies, there are different principle accountings. There's no right and wrong, but every economy has to set up its own rule or own principle accounting to make sure everybody will understand the account of a company. So you get the same account if you let it work on by an American accountant or let it work on by a British accountant. The report will come out maybe in total different conclusions, simply because it's different accounting principles. And another good example is about lawyers. Many of you may have heard about there are different types of laws. Ocean law, continental law. They are all based on different principles. So I'm not going to say which is better or which is more correct, but the result, the procedure, they are all different. All these principles, laws are artificial, are made by human beings. So it becomes much difficult for this type of professional try to move to another country. You may ask now, say, the closest profession to engineers may be medical doctor. But still, you may need to be aware there are slight differences between different type of people, different ethical group. An Oriental may not behave in the same way as a white, simply because you get different genetic makeups. So among all the different professions, I would like to say engineer is the most mobile profession, simply because we're working on the law of nature. So the second issue we need to sort out is, why do we need professional qualification for engineers or any other professionals? Even engineers are all working on the laws of nature, but still different engineers may achieve a different level of competence. In order to protect the general public, we need to set up a certain type of system to ensure the minimum competence of an engineer so as to protect the public safety. So this is the prime reason why we need to have a professional qualification system. So to facilitate our further discussion, the first thing we need to understand is how do we nurture an engineer. I think the process is very similar to most other professionals. So basically we are talking about 3 different steps. We are talking about education, training, and practice. So all engineers need to be educated in some accredited program, so to make sure when they graduate, they will contain a certain attributes and the objective of education has been achieved. The second part, upon graduation of a student, he need to receive proper training and to gain his experience in practice. And different profession may have different durational requirement, have different training program, different courses that a trainee need to attend after graduation, so far and so forth. And then they move on to practice now. So even though you are a professional engineer, you still need to maintain and upgrade your knowledge from time to time. So there are still continuing professional training requirement, and also need to maintain your ethical standard. And this is pretty much common for most other professions. So the first thing we need to talk about is in terms of education. Many economies has already come to an agreement that they need to make sure engineers are educated to a certain level in order to meet the minimum requirement to become an engineer. So for the years, you can see from here now, there are 3 different agreements signed by different economies. The first one is the Washington Accord. It's mainly for engineering degree program for the training of engineers. And the second one is the Sydney Accord. It's mainly for engineering technologists. And the third one is the Dublin Accord. It's mainly for engineering technicians. So you can see now there are 3 different levels of professional people working in engineering, from engineer to engineer technologist and to technician. And this agreement are signed in 1989, 2001, and 2002 respectively. As we have presented earlier, the second level for the training of engineers is on the level of competence. The first agreement was signed by APEC economies. As you may realize now, APEC stands for Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation. So this agreement has been signed by probably about 21 APEC economies to agree on the level of competence of engineers. And then similarly, a few years later, a similar agreement was signed by other economies which are not APEC economies, so they changed the name of the agreement to International Professional Engineers Agreement. So these 2 agreements are basically the same, although the participating members are not. And then similarly now, they reach another agreement for engineering technologists. So to make sure this engineering technologist has to reach a certain level of competence before they can practice as engineering technologists. And the last one is an agreement for engineering technicians. So altogether now you can see there are 4 agreements, but basically there are 3 because the first 2 are identical. And try to make an agreement on the level of competence on different level of engineering professionals. In 2007, the International Engineering Alliance was formally formed to become the secretariat for the 3 accords and 4 agreements. The objective of the International Engineering Alliance is try to work together to advance educational quality and to enhance the global mobility within the engineering profession. Now, why do we start to recognize the portability of engineering qualifications and professional competence? No matter you like it or not, globalization is taking place. That means economies are becoming more and more interdependent. And at the same time now, because of the economic situation of different economies, some economy may have a surplus supply of engineers, while some other economy may have a lack of engineers. And then by moving this engineering skill across economies, we can avoid the waste of engineering resources, engineering education. And another hidden agenda here now, you can easily imagine that can also provide works for economies with surplus supply engineers, and also to help economies with a lack of engineers to do their engineering works. And at the same time, because of this recognition of engineer qualifications, we can overall to improve the engineer education. So let us come back to our main topic today, the Washington Accord. The Washington Accord is a multilateral agreement between bodies responsible for accreditation and recognition of tertiary level engineering qualifications within their jurisdictions. And all the signatories who signed the Washington Accord have chosen to work collectively to assist the mobility of professional engineers, and the accord was originally signed by 1989. The signatories of the Washington Accord agreed to grant graduates of each other's accredited program the same recognition, rights, and privileges as they grant to graduates of their own accredited programs. This is very important because most of these signatories are also their national registration bodies. And also they agree to is, if they are not the registration body, they will recommend the same to their national recognition bodies. So you can tell from now, it's quite obvious that the Washington Accord has provided a mechanism for mutual recognition of graduates of accredited programs among the signatories of the Washington Accord. This timeline shows the history or the historical development of the Washington Accord. As we have discussed earlier, Washington Accord was first signed in 1989, and then since 1989 they start to have developed some sort of review processes, but at that time it's still a very loose process. They may meet once every 2 years and so and talk about it. And then from about 1997 to 2002, there are more economy try to join and sign in the Washington Accord. And then from then onward, it become more formal now. It developed its own graduate attributes. And as we have discussed earlier now, in 2007, the IEA, or the International Engineering Alliance, was formally formed to be the secretariat for the Washington Accord. And since then, they have developed formal rules and so forth now. So, and in 2012, the number of signatories in Washington Accord reached 15 and now become even more. And in 2013, there's a major development. They engaged to the European Unions. So this is the first 6 economies signed in the Washington Accord in 1989 on 28th of September. So these 6 economies are Australia, Canada, Ireland, New Zealand, United Kingdom, and United States. As you can tell now, all these 6 economies are English speaking. And then on the right side, I'm giving you now is a signatory body. Every economy has only one signatory. So like for example, in Australia is the Engineers Australia, Canada is the Engineers Canada, and Ireland is the Engineers Ireland, New Zealand is Engineering New Zealand, United Kingdom is the Engineering Council United Kingdom, and in United States is the Accreditation Board for Engineering and Technology, or abbreviated as ABET. In 1995, the Hong Kong Institution of Engineers joined the Washington Accord. In 1999, it was joined by the South Africa, Then the third signatory is the Engineering Council, South Africa. In 2005, is the first non-English-speaking economy joint Washington Accord is by Japan, and the signatory is the Japan Accreditation Board for Engineering Education. In 2006, Singapore, represented by the Institute of Engineers Singapore, joined the Washington Accord. In 2007, Chinese Taipei or Taiwan, represented by the Institute of Engineering Education Taiwan, joined the Washington Accord together with Korea. And Korea is represented by the Accreditation Board for Engineering Education of Korea. If you are paying attention to this video, you'll find out I'm extremely careful of using the word economy rather than country. As you can see for now, Hong Kong and Taiwan are both signatory of the Washington Accord, but China is not a signatory yet at this point in time. In 2009 comes the Malaysia, and 2011 we got Turkey, and in 2012 with Russia. 2014 we got India and Sri Lanka. 2016 we got China. 2017 we have to include Pakistan. 2018 we have Peru. 2020 we have Costa Rica. As you can see from the names here now, the signatories are actually Spanish speaking. 2022 comes Indonesia and Mexico. As you can tell now from the name of the signatory, this is a name in Indonesian, and this is again is the name in Spanish. So as you can see up to now, there are so many countries are in the Washington Accord. So if you are educated in an accredited program in any of these countries, your education qualification will be recognized as in all this signatory economy in Washington Accord. So I guess now you can see now as an engineer, there are many places in the world you can go there to work with your engineer qualification in education fully recognized. Now, another interesting question now is how to become a signatory. That means now, how can you become a signatory of the Washington Accord so that the accredited engineering program accredited by you will be equally accredited by many other economies? So now here's a few steps you need to follow. The first one is the Accord require a body that wishes to become a signatory to first apply for provisional status. And then you need to demonstrate that you have an accreditation program that meets the basic requirement of the Washington Accord. Now, to proceed to signatory status, the body must demonstrate substantial equivalence of its standard and processes in a review by a team drawn from the signatories. So that means now they have an on-site review of how you are doing. And then the application must be approved unanimously agreement by all the signatories. So that tells you one thing very important now is the later you join, the more difficult it becomes. For the time being, there are 6 economies on a provisional status, and these economies are Chile, Thailand, Bangladesh, the Philippines, Myanmar, and Saudi Arabia. Some of them have been on a provisional status since 2016, so they are on provisional status for almost 7 years now. From a student standpoint, the most important things about this accreditation business, they are few. First, the accreditation is program specific. The signatory only accredit program by program, not department by department, and not university by university, and of course not economy by economy. So you have to be very careful now. Even you choose a particular department in a university, you need to look at that particular program, because some department may be running several programs at the same time. Another important issue for students on accreditation is the time limit of accreditation. When a team comes to a university to accredit a particular program, even though it may grant accreditation, the accreditation is only valid for a certain number of years. For example, for ABET in the United States, the maximum length can be granted to a particular engineering program is 6 years. So it may be shorter, but 6 years is the maximum number of years that can be granted accreditation by the ABET to a particular engineering program. So from a student standpoint, you need to be very careful nowadays. The accreditation period of a particular program that you want to apply for remain valid. Now, this is what I want to talk about on the Washington Accord. You can leave your comment on today's video. If you like it, please give us a like. Or you may want to share this video with your friends who may be interested in the topic we are talking about today. Of course, now you are welcome to subscribe to our channel for free. For those of you who doesn't want to leave your comments openly, you may want to send your comment to my email directly. And also, all our video can be found at this website. Thank you for watching this video.